He can't
Well, hello,
find it.
everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Do I have to mute you?
It might be best. I'll mute myself. How about that?
I'm just teasing you. But anyway, thank you, everyone, for joining us. We are happy to be hosting our first show of the new year. Today, we have some amazing guests. I love these guys. They've had me on their show several times. They are the hosts of the Apocalypse Project, and we are going to be talking today about hosting your own paranormal podcast. So before we get started, I'd like them to take the time to introduce themselves and explain why they started hosting a podcast.
B, shall I?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Well, first off, my name is Sir Rev. This is my co-host, who usually will be sitting right here, right next to me. But because he's feeling a little of the weather, so I have my other good friend, which I think Heather might recognize a little bit. Look, it's Randy.
Hey, Randy.
So Randy is actually the friend that got us connected with you, Heather. So we're grateful for that. But the reason why we started a podcast, well, number one, is because we would have just normal conversations, hanging out, just drinking and talking. And, we felt like we were pretty sophisticated, but I don't know if it was just because of the beer or what. But we figured, hey, maybe we should. So what if we just sit down and we actually record a podcast or do a show? It originally started back in 2013 when we started our first podcast. It was called the Servanthood. Yeah. The Servanthood. And it was just us getting together on a Friday night, just recording, talking with each other, with friends, and doing exactly what we're doing now. But of course, if you go back and listen to this they sounded really good because B is an excellent producer and knows how to work the soundboard really well. But, when you look at them, the production wasn't as great. It was just us sitting at a kitchen countertop with a couple of microphones strapped to the counter and just doing it. But B and I have been friends for about 21, 22 years now. We were in high school together, and we did music. We've recorded music, hip-hop music for years, and, we do now this, I guess.
And it's been an interesting and fascinating journey. And it wasn't until recently where I think everything started stepping up. We started getting hosts, people that guests, I should say, people that want to come in and be on the show. I think that's what made it even that brought it to a whole other level for us. And it was an interesting journey, to say the least.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, it's just like one of the reasons why that we, like, personally with me, it's just like I wanted to start a podcast because you look around and the genre podcast, you go back even just 10 years ago. I think the first one that actually started a podcast that became really prominent was, I think, Adam Carolla, the comedian. And that's where he popularized the podcasting thing. And over years now, it just seems like it's saturated. There's really no room. You really got to stand out in a sort of way. But at the same time, it's just like everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a thought. So I figured we have opinions. We have thoughts, especially after a couple beers. Why not give it a shot? So that's one of the main reasons why we decided to do a podcast and just throw. And I'm the personality where it's just like, if I'm going to do it, we're going to go big. We're going to go all out. So we got a studio, which we both usually share, but B's not here today out of abundance of caution. But, we're doing it as best as we can. And whether we reach no people or as many people as we can, we just love doing what we're doing, and we put all of our effort into it.
I do have to say, you guys are the most interesting show I've been interviewed for. It definitely different.
We're trying to have fun.
I know it's definitely not what it's not what you would expect from a normal podcast. It's just like you said, two guys talking with guests here and there and just having fun, talking about what's on your mind. And now getting a little bit more. And
the whole paranormal thing. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the whole paranormal thing is that we're not necessarily a paranormal podcast per se, but one of the things that me and B have always talked about is that we always come back to the paranormal, whether it be like ghosts and hauntings or even conspiracy theories or, I think the Bigfoot or UFOs. Yeah, and we always come back to that, and I just think like you get so much of we talked about this with you plenty of times when it comes to the paranormal topic. It's just that it's become so sensationalized, so much part of entertainment culture that you really get get the actual fact of information, like what is going on. You just get the sensational part, especially YouTube videos or whether it's productions on major television networks. So it's just like, it was really interesting for us that doing this podcast is like that's the point of, we're just normal guys talking about a topic and trying to learn as much as possible, and that kind of filters out all the sensationalism that you would get from probably, I don't want to say other podcasts, but other productions that try to get ratings, build an audience in a way that isn't true, or
clickbait. They call it clickbait.
Yeah, clickbait. Yeah, let's call it that, clickbait.
Yeah, and that's why we have Ghost Education 101, because we want to teach everybody without the sensationalism. And I know it might feel different for you guys that you're on this end of it. Normally you're in the audience asking questions. So getting to questions.
This is great.
If anyone has any questions for our guests, feel free to ask. We will be talking about, actually, Kenneth Torres, another person I introduced you guys to, just said, how you guys doing?
Yo, what's going on?
Kenny. So that was one of the most interesting things. One of the incredible things about doing the podcast is being able to meet very interesting individuals. Kenny is one of them. So we, like I said, we had Randy on our show. I think that was one of the very first paranormal podcasts that we did. And I'll be honest with you, I completely love Randy. He's a great friend of mine. We go to church. Well, there is a but. But I'm going to get there. We're both believers in God and the Bible and stuff like that. But when he sat down and he was telling me about his paranormal situations, I will call them, I was like, this is a side of you I've never seen before. It's interesting. But at the same time, it's like I would have never, because I'm going to say this. I'm the type of person that my mind is spinning constantly. I'm going to go on a little side tangent here, but I love the fact that I'm on your show, because as me and B have talked about before, and even with you, B, I think, is a firm believer in the paranormal, the full extent that I think a lot of people in your audience do. And I am not. I'm not one of those people. I'm more of a skeptic, but at the same time, I'm still on this path of learning. I do believe in the supernatural or the paranormal, but just not in this extent that I think that other people that are in your audience do, which doesn't necessarily mean I'm wrong or right, or they're wrong or right. It's just like I'm on a path of journey. Skepticism, healthy skepticism. And when I met Randy, it kind of, I'll be honest with you, it kind of challenged me in that, because Randy's a person I love and trust a lot. So when I was listening to his stories, I'm just like, okay. It was,
you believe it. It's like you don't want to see a ghost, but that's the only way it's going to be proven to you. So in essence, you have to be, you have to see a ghost in a way, and it's like, yo, be careful what you ask for. Because I'm not asking for it.
I am not asking for it. Definitely not. But it was just interesting. So I'm still at a point right now in my, in this journey that we call life, and where we constantly grow and we constantly learn. I'm not at a point right now where I can definitively say I believe in the supernatural to the extent that I know that some people do. Love and respect you, Heather, but at the same time, I don't know if I would put myself in that category of how much I lean onto that side of the paranormal. I do believe in the paranormal. If you're going to be a believer in God and the Bible, you automatically have to believe in the paranormal, because that is not normal. That is beyond normality, to believe in a God that transcends time, space, matter, physical, all that metaphysical stuff. So I do believe in the paranormal, the paranormal, the supernatural, just how it manifests itself. But like I said, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to speak to you, to Kenny, and even Chris McKennell, another individual that we've been able to talk to. I find it very intriguing. I'm very familiar with the Warrens and their work, and the ability to talk to people that are in that line of legacy of their work, and their grandsons, to speak on that is quite incredible. Interesting to take that information in. I'm still working out whether or not I can put a deposit of objective that I would believe it objectively. I'm still on that journey, but it's been an incredible experience listening to to everything that I've been hearing on the paranormal side.
Well, the first step is admitting it, brother. But what I want to say is, first and foremost, you know what, Heather, you're pretty much the co-producer of this show, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't even have these guests on our show. So I tip my hat to you, and I thank you first and foremost, because without you, I don't think the show would be half as interesting as it is, or as it has been anyway.
We called her a
I
co-host.
have several more. I have several more guests that I can introduce you to.
Oh yeah,
nice. If you find us worthy, we'll be happy to do that.
Yeah. I'm assuming this is Philip, because we do have several people who operate our page, but this is my co-host Philip, and he says experiences influenced your perception. So without experience, you have no true reference. So we need to get you on a paranormal investigation and prove to you.
And we've talked about this. So one of the things, and we talked about the first time we spoke to you, Heather, we kind of briefly mentioned this. We tried doing
the cemetery.
The cemetery thing. And so it's like, I'm never one to just jump out there and say, oh, we're going to go to this haunted place. We're going to go in an abandoned building. But there's this cemetery here in our town. We're in Modesto, California. And on one of the major thoroughfares in Modesto is a cemetery that sits just literally you're literally walking right next to it on a major road. So I said, okay.
It's right across the street from an old hospital.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So if you died there, they just push you across the street.
They just launch you across the street into a lot. But yeah, so we decided, well, let's just. I had at that time, I just recently sold it, but I had a 1970 VW bus. So I was like, let's take the Scooby-Doo van. Let's go run down there and let's get. I dropped B off at one side and said, okay, I'm going to drive down to the other side. You walk down and just snap some pictures. I mean, it was so amateur and probably disrespectful.
It was so creepy though.
It was. Oh, here's a creepy thing. So I was like, maybe we should drive through it because it's open 24/7. You could actually drive a vehicle in and out. And I'm thinking, okay, Volkswagen's notorious for breaking down. So imagine having to pull over and get underneath this car in the middle of a cemetery. Nah, we'll just look from the outside. So, and I'm telling you, you from my reference, there. If you fear something, that means there's a possibility that there's something in the back of your mind that says there's something to that. So I'm not saying.
I've learned to trust my intuition, or some will call it the Holy Spirit, or that little voice in your head. I mean, I've really learned throughout my life to really listen to that. It's saved me a number of times. Like one time when I was younger, there was a house party, and I just had this uneasy feeling, like something told me, you need to get out of here. You don't belong here. Just leave. So, I took off, and a couple minutes later, there was a shooting. So, who's to say that I would have been one of the ones shot or something. So I've learned to listen to it. But the creepy thing about that cemetery is as I walked closer or nearest to the older part of it, it started getting colder and colder and colder.
Oh, that's right.
But, my theory behind it is there's more granite. As you get older, the gravestones get bigger and, more elaborate.
Well, you try to justify. Well, and that's interesting that you say that, because from my experience, it's like I've learned to kind of like not pay attention to abnormal things, like the small things, like you hear a noise, or you might from the corner of your eye, did that move, or did I see somebody standing in the corner? I've kind of like learned, and maybe this is just a default myself, that I've just trained myself to just try to rationalize it away, so to speak. Like, oh, what's that creak? It's probably just a house settling. Oh, what's that shadow? It's probably we and I think I've just gotten to that point. So I'm not opposed to going on an investigation. I do respect it though. So it's just like, I know that I'm not just going to, treat it as like fun and games, because I know it's not.
Yeah, there's a certain level of reverence, I think, that's involved in that. A high level of respect, at least for me anyway,
Well, you have a deeper appreciation, or do you believe more in the paranormal than I do? And we've talked about that before, so I don't know if you want to share that.
Well, I'm a firm believer. If you seek, you shall find. Whether
that's because you're looking for it.
In all seriousness, whether it be good or whether it be bad, you're gonna find it. So I've always grown up with that superstition. That, don't play around with things you have no business playing around with, or that you don't understand. But I think that's where me and Rev differ. I know he's grown up in a similar background, but for me, my grandma was a Native American, and then we have strong, Mexican heritage as well. So everybody grew up with a lot of superstition. So, we got it from both sides, and we've always were taught that, if you even let's say you're going to a yard sale or you find stuff on the side of the road, my grandma was real skeptical about bringing it home because she goes, there's a reason someone threw it out, And one time, and I remember one time my grandpa brought home a mirror, I think it was, I can't remember, but my grandma made him get rid of it. She goes, put it back where you found it because there's some energy I don't like about it. So even when it came to getting free stuff, which is weird because I love free stuff, but it's like, you always got to be, you got to be careful. You got to check people's motives because someone could be giving you something and, and with some malicious intent behind it. So you always got to be, I don't know. I always grew up with that certain level of, caution. I don't know if that makes any kind of sense.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to say this because that just reminded me of something. Because yesterday we went down to me and my daughter and my mother-in-law went to the flea market, and my daughter's always digging through the dolls, and so she came up with this doll, and it looked pretty old. And I'm looking at the face. Can we buy it? I'm looking at it. I was like, I don't trust that face. So I told
that's a good thing you listen.
Get another Annabelle.
Real quick before we continue, I just received a message from my co-host, and behind Sir Rev, because he's a medium, he says that there's a man standing behind you with a hard hat like in construction and a bit of a belly.
Oh, snap, your dad, man.
Did we catch you off guard?
Oh, very much so. Wow. Okay, now I'm gonna have to make a phone call.
Yeah, because that's your business, but yeah, that's kind of crazy, man.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So my dad isn't doing too well right now. We actually had him on the show at one point. Who were we talking? We were talking with Alex, with our former co-host, and we did a paranormal podcast with him. Because Alex was talking about he was supposed to show us the footage he caught from his security camera. And, it got deleted mysteriously. Remember? Corrupted. Yeah, actually, we have the picture of it. Yeah, it's back there. But yeah, so
where you point, that's where he's standing.
Oh, sorry. Oh, my bad. But no, but my dad was sitting in the audience with a couple other people, and I remember he's always had a stronger belief in the paranormal, and he shared a story about some headless man running through the house and something like that. But my dad is not doing the greatest right now, and some physical issues, but he's been a construction worker his whole life, and he does have a bit of a belly. So that's what threw me off, because I'm like,
take a break. And Philip responded back saying he was a bit of a hard ass.
Yeah,
sounds about right.
Sounds about right. I mean, I have, like I said, going back to my skepticism. It's just my skepticism doesn't arise in the fact that I don't believe in the supernatural. Like I've said, it's just like, I'm at a point, and I'm going to preference this because I had listened to a previous show, and you see me all the time. I'm always commenting, asking questions. I feel like I'm bugging you guys, but the last show you guys had done with Chris McKinnell and a couple, I think Kenny Torres was on there too, talking about the idea of religion and people that hammer down are exclusive. They exclude certain people because you got to believe a certain way, but when I can bring it back to my spiritual and religious tradition, yes, the Bible is the authoritative source for me. So everything goes through the scriptures of what is written in the text, and so not to say that it excludes the paranormal or that it excludes apparitions and things along those lines, because in all reality, when I read the Bible, even when Jesus rose from the dead and appeared before the disciples were scared because they thought it was a ghost. So obviously there must be some kind of, like I said, if you're afraid of something, then there must be something in the back of your head or some kind of truth going along with it. But at the same time, it's kind of like, what more do you have buckets of truth? Which bucket has the most truth? So though I lend myself to believe in the supernatural, I would call it the supernatural more than the paranormal, because I think that in my reference that fits better. But in I put more into what what is found in scripture than more than what is found in the I don't want to say popular paranormal, because for me, like for instance, when you came on and you shared your experience with us, it was intriguing. I don't believe that you're lying. I don't think that it was a figment of your imagination. I want to believe that it was real and legitimate. It may not completely fit what I may believe from what I read in the Bible, but at the same time, I don't discount what you experienced, even though it's experiential for you and anecdotal to an extent. But at the same time, I go back. Maybe it's because I haven't experienced it, but at the same time, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the problem is the word paranormal. You know, and I've said it before. I hate that word only because people, when you say paranormal, they automatically think ghost. When in all actuality, ghost is a supernatural thing, in my opinion. So for me, paranormal is, you know, all the Fortean topics, and, you know, I'll even throw cryptids in there, you know, but when we're specifically talking about hauntings and ghosts, for me, that's more of a spiritual, you know, thing. So, Heather, is that accurate, or is just paranormal just all encompassing?
Well, paranormal covers a lot of things. It covers UFOs, ghosts, spirits, Bigfoot, anything unknown, which is so much.
Yeah. Well, and what I want to piggyback on what B said was, because I don't think it's necessarily that you hate the term. I think you just hate the meaning that people have poured into it currently. Yeah. Because
people just because automatically you say paranormal, they think just only ghost, you know. And
it's the same thing too. Oh, go ahead, B. Sorry.
Well, because even like family members like, oh, you know, your show, it's a paranormal show, you know, just about ghosts and stuff. I go, no, it's not just about ghosts and stuff. You know, we do everything. But, you know, ghosts is a small part of it. But I mean, there's other things that are considered paranormal, and it's hard to explain that to people without trying to sound snooty or condescending. You know what I mean? But it's like, that's the reason I hate that word, using that word paranormal when we talk about ghosts.
It puts you in a box.
Yeah. You know, and then people's understanding of it.
Well, it's just that, like, we go back to the sensational part. It's what's been sensationalized through popular media. So when people think ghosts, oh, you think paranormal activity. Oh, you think, you know, what's been popularized instead of the reality. Like, and this is one thing a lot of people want to discredit paranormal investigators to a degree, because they want, the same kind of people that will discredit religion or a belief in God, because you can't verifiably, you can't run it through the normal scientific method. You can't put God in a test tube, and you can't dissect him and learn everything there is to know, because therefore he won't be God. So you can't do that. It's the same thing with the paranormal. It is beyond from what I understand, the paranormal is beyond the reach of natural man's understanding.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a certain level of faith involved. Look at me, the one that's not into the church and everything, speaking about faith, but
hallelujah.
There is in a similar sense as religion and in paranormal. Sometimes you don't see a ghost. You know, for instance, in this case, like that medium was saying, there was someone behind you, but you'd have to have faith in a way, right? You'd be like, oh snap, maybe there was, or maybe there wasn't. But I think at the end of the day, I believe in ghosts, man. I'm a big believer in ghosts, paranormal. But do I want to see one? No. You know, I've heard a lot of paranormal things in my house growing up, and in this house that I'm in now. My son's seen things, but I personally haven't seen any ghosts, but I've heard ghost activity, if that makes sense, you know, in my house. So I do believe. Yeah, it's look at me get all scared. I'm gonna call my wife out of the room. Can you
go turn all lights on?
Yeah.
So let's just shift real quick. To get back a little bit. I know. Of course, this is a paranormal show, so of course, talking about the paranormal is always welcome. But I've had a lot of people ask me, and you guys see my setup. It's me in my living room running through StreamYard. And I operate all my shows that way. So it's like really nothing fancy. Okay. Any tips or any suggestions you have to anyone who wants to start an actual podcast?
Well, go ahead, B.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I think, okay.
We both love to talk.
I know you're long-winded today, Rev. You think this is your show? Poor Heather's over here, like.
I keep getting text messages from people. Don't let them take over your show. It's your show.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to be quiet. I'm just listening. Like, for once, I'm just trying to follow the rules. Okay, it's not our show. We're guests here. This is not our show. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. But I think, okay. So this is where me and Rev kind of Well, it lucks out because Rev's more of a video file and I'm more of an audio file. Now, for podcasts, primarily, when you think podcasts, old school, for me anyway, I listen to podcasts. I don't really watch podcasts. You know, when I'm on the road, I'm working, I have a headphone, and I'm listening to podcasts primarily. Now, Rev likes to watch podcasts. That's why our podcast has the dual aspect of it. You have the audio, option, and then you have the video option. So my first thing would be know what your needs are. What are your needs? What's your goal? Do you want to do just audio, or do you want to incorporate video and audio? And I think that's where you need to start first, and then go from there. But knowing your needs is going to be influential in knowing what you need to buy or what you need to get, if that makes any kind of sense, because you might not need to spend a lot of money on a 4K camera if you're just going to do audio. You know what I mean? I know it sounds kind of obvious, but a lot of people will kind of start at us included, we start with the most expensive thing, and then like, oh crap, I could have just bought this one thing, which would replace so many other pieces of kit, because when we first started out, we had a mixer, and then we had a headphone, like a separate headphone thing. But
it runs in the same vein. Sorry, it runs into the same vein to when we first started doing music. How did we start there? But there was a limitation. Of course, we were teenagers, so it's like we didn't have the money. Started on a karaoke machine. But I think B is completely correct. I think with us, it's completely true. It's just like I'm more visually minded person. He's more audio. Like when we started doing the podcast originally, like we said in 2013, we didn't know what we were doing. In fact, what was the website we were using? It was
I forgot.
Blog TV.
That's right.
Blogtv.com. It was really cool. We loved it because it was just like a radio, like flipping through a radio station. So you would sign on, you would just start streaming, and people could flick through like a TV, and then if you were interesting enough, people would stop. We actually had people stop and talk. So that was one of the whole things about that got us thinking. Okay, so Matt Groening, this is good. So Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons. When he was doing the final touches on the aesthetic, on the look of the cartoon series, he ended up making the characters yellow, which was an odd choice when you stop and think. I remember being like, what was I, 8 or 9 years old? Like, why are these cartoon characters yellow? It doesn't make sense. They're supposed to be people, but they're all yellow. Well, Matt Groening's answer to that is when you're flicking through the TV, yellow's going to catch your attention first.
Well, that's why school buses are yellow. That's the color your brain recognizes the fastest. Now, if you want to get one piece of kit that I would recommend, I highly recommend, which will allow you to grow. If you want to, it would allow you to grow in the audio aspect, but then it would also allow you to grow into the video, meaning as far as patching audio back into the video, this is what we use. It's the Rodecaster Pro. I was trying to use it today, but it wouldn't link up with my phone. But this is something I recommend for anybody because it's so versatile. You can Bluetooth your phone, plug in a computer. That piece of kit right there, I think, has helped us tremendous in our audio quality. It brought everything to a whole new level for us. It opened up so many doors, and meaning we didn't have to buy something to mix minus. Mixed minus is when you're talking to someone on the phone and then they're speaking into the phone and they hear themselves back like a feedback loop, which is a problem we were having. That's why we couldn't take calls live. But this piece of kit allows us to do that now. We could bring in 2 different phone calls if we want to at the same time. It's actually a really good investment. That's something I highly recommend, which brings me to my next point, not only knowing what you need, but not rushing into buying things you don't need. See, like this piece of kit will replace 5 or 6 different things you would have bought individually and spend way more money than this thing costs. So always be wary of that, because I got stuck in that whirlwind where I'm like buying this and buying that and spending money where I didn't need to. So it's about understanding where you want to go and how you're going to get there. But I think buying specially made equipment for that is the best way to do it. That way you're not having any problems later down the line with things not working right together. So that's my biggest 2 things right there.
Well, I think it also depends on how much work you want to put into it. Like I know what we do is a lot of work in the post production end, because what we do is we video record separately and the audio separately, then we marry it later with all the graphic overlays and everything in the intro and the outro. So it is a tremendous amount of work. You would have to know how to run your video editing programs, but luckily nowadays you're capable of doing that all on your phone. If you have a phone with enough memory, like I do, I had to get a phone that has 526 gig memory just so I could do video editing. So it just depends on exactly what you're looking for. I think the most important thing is the way things look, obviously, or the way things sound, obviously, doesn't necessarily guarantee success. There's one of my favorite, I have a couple favorite podcasters that I listen to on a regular basis. One of them is Tim Pool, who is a news commentator. And I listen to him, but the one thing that he does is he's putting out 3, 4, 5 videos a day. They're not eloquent looking. It's just him with his screen on and him talking in the corner about news or whatever. But one of the things I took away from that is, like, when he first started, it was just him doing this thing on a daily basis, putting out video when he was only having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Now he has a YouTube channel in the millions. He has his own company. He has a media company, but he just said, just never stop. Just keep putting it out. As long as it doesn't matter what it sounds like or what it looks like. Of course, you have to be able to listen to it. It has to be legible, so to speak. But at the same time, you just got to be consistent. And I think that's probably the crux to I think that's with anybody, with doing anything, is remaining consistent on a daily basis, continue doing the work. So I know what we do is complicated, but at the same time, there's other ways of doing it that would be less complicated. But as long as you're putting the dedication in on a daily basis. Like, for instance, Heather, I just was watching you on a podcast before this one. So you are obviously doing a lot of work. Plus, you're on the East Coast. You're dedicated. You're putting out material I think on a daily basis at this point, I think. And that's commendable. I mean, that's awesome.
Just every Wednesday.
I don't know. It just seems like every time I turn on Facebook, you're there. So
that's awesome.
I'm everywhere.
Oh.
It suddenly boomed. I can't keep up with it.
I'm waiting for ours to do that, you know.
Yeah.
And you've been at it longer than I have.
Well, that's the thing. Well, we did it in 2013, and I think we only had 4 or 5 episodes, and then we kind of just dropped out of it and stopped doing it. And we started doing music again. That was that same time we were doing music, so we were doing some performances here and there, and then that kind of stopped. And then we had been toiling with the idea of doing a podcast for a long time. In fact, this podcast, B started on his own. With another co-host. I wasn't in the original plan, as much as, how shocking that may be. I was in the original co-host with Play B, with somebody else. But eventually him and I decided, hey, let's just go ahead and just run it ourselves. And we turned it into what it is now. It wasn't what it was before, but at the same time, there's always room for growth. That's what
brings me back to this, for instance, this mixer right here. Kind of goes back, it kind of piggybacks on that idea of where do you want to be in the future, or what are your plans, knowing your plans, because right now it might just be you and one microphone and you're thinking, well, I only just need maybe a simple interface that'll run you $100, right? But then what if you want to have 2 people, or later on maybe have 2 people on a phone call, or 3 people, and so on and so forth. So getting something that's going to allow you to grow later, because who knows where you might end up. You might need, and then now you're not only spending the $100, $200 now you're spending $500 or $600 later on top of what you've already spent. And now that piece of equipment you're not going to use, So I know it sounds like a lot up front, but it's hard to save for me anyway. It's hard to save up for this equipment, but I'm glad that I did, because it allowed us to grow, and we still have room to grow with this one piece of kit, So that's, for me, has been the most eye-opening thing, is not only understanding where I want to be and not only knowing what my limits are with what I have, but giving me the best possible edge, or should I say the best possible chance of growing. And when I say growing, I mean in adding microphones or adding, sound bites and stuff. So this piece of kit is made specifically for broadcasting, is made specifically for this one job, and it does this one job very well. That's why I highly recommend it. And there's others on the market that are similar. They do pretty good, but for some reason, Rode has never let me down. And they're not sure. They're not. If you want to sponsor us, Rode, but yeah, So
I don't think they're watching us.
You never know. But that's. I mean, I know. I say all that to say, know what your goals are first, and then buy accordingly. If you want to do just audio, then you can do a simple setup, and just to try it out, maybe a headphone or something. But eventually, if you're going to take it serious, you're going to want to buy specialty equipment. That's just my number one suggestion, or whatever. Sorry, I've had a fever all day.
That's okay. We have some questions rolling in, but real quick, I finally discovered why Philip no longer co-hosts with me. He says he has a face for radio. That's why you disappeared.
That is not true. I mean, it doesn't matter. Look at some of the personalities you see nowadays. They're not all pretty to look at.
Oh, it's like on the last show I hosted just an hour ago. I had asked him if he wanted to jump on board. He's like, "No, I look like a demon attacked me." But I told him to get some rest, and he'll be back soon.
So,
oh, that's funny.
He did ask, what is the best budget live stream camera for beginners to run through their computer?
Okay, so
the one you have. Yeah. If you're a beginner, the one you have. Honestly, because if you're going to be spending, because what a 4K camera is going to run you a couple $100, but then it might not be something you enjoy doing later. So now you just wasted $400. So start with what you have. If I could articulate the words correctly, start with what you have, and as eventually, if you start to like it, and then eventually you start putting together a budget, then you start thinking about all the stuff I was saying. But the best place to start is start with what you have. Your phone. Most phones have pretty good onboard microphones and cameras. Start there. Start with what you have, and then if it becomes something you want to take seriously, then you start making investments in specialty equipment. I should have said all that in the beginning. Sorry.
Well, no, that's a good point.
I've been sick. I got the flu Rona, I think.
Yeah. So no, I want to piggyback on that too, because I think the one great thing, and one of the reasons why you see the market, I shall say, of podcasts is because the accessibility to the technology is right there. If you have a phone, you have the technology. You could even just shoot if you're not even just doing live streaming, you could download it. There's an app that I use to do all my video editing, that you could add video clips, you can add overlays, you can add so many other different things to it. So it's just like if you really want to start, you can just start just by merely having a phone. And B's right. These new phones with their microphones and their cameras, and some of them even shooting 4K. So, I mean, in our reality, if you want, you have a studio all ready to go right in your pocket, just to try to see if you wanted to do things. But I think the most important thing, other than just equipment, is making sure that you have the personality for it. I think that's the biggest thing, and also that you know the things that in which you're going to discuss, or you can have a lively conversation by yourself, I guess, if you want to say, because some people can.
Mm-hmm. I try, but it doesn't always succeed. And even though my light shifted, but it's out of reach. But I just have a little ring light that I set up to the side, and I use my camera that's on my computer. And the audio, I do have an external mic, but I do use the audio.
So when we first started recording in this studio, I had gotten refurbished or repurposed stage lighting from my church that they were getting rid of. So we took it and we were using it, and it was just, I didn't like how it looked. It gave us this really purplish hue. So I ended up getting these lights, and they're just LED like lights you would put outside that screw into the light bulb, and they're like only $30 each, and they give us sufficient lighting. So I think in that, it's like you don't have to spend like tons of money. Yeah, a fortune. Like $30 for the light fixtures, and then the $7 Walmart thing. Well, no, I'm gonna grab mine now.
Yeah, and this was just $5 at Five Below. Yeah,
nice.
This works great when it doesn't fall over.
Oh yeah.
Looks like an alien spaceship.
It's a paranormal light.
Exactly. And then while we wait for him to come back, Josh wants to know how much does that sound mixer you showed cost?
I paid, I think, $5.99. I can't remember, but there's a website that I use, and I have no problem sharing it. It's called American Music Supply, and they don't run your credit, and you can make payments. I think my payments were, I can't remember. It's been a while, but yeah, I think it was like $5.99 or $6.99, something like that. It's called the Rodecaster Pro.
Okay. And are you willing to share your equipment list?
Yeah, well, we use that Rodecaster Pro, and then we have the Rodecast mic, the pod mic. That cost me $100. I use Audio Technica headphones. Rev uses Sony headphones, and then we have two, which I wish they would have sold them still. Those are Samsung M10 microphones from Target. Those are only $20 a piece, and those things sound really good.
$20 microphones, and they sound production quality. I was impressed.
But I haven't seen them anymore, so I don't know if Target still sells them. But that's where we found those microphones. I love those microphones.
Yeah, we've used those for years now.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know there's a typo here, but it was corrected later on. It's but make sure to use Bluetooth USB mic with your phone with live streaming. She was told, Amy, sorry. I should put my glasses on, and they're on top of my head. I do this every podcast, and everybody laughs at me about it. She was told a USB wired mic is so much cheaper, and of course, the sound quality is far improved. Yeah,
no, and that's true. But then again, you're limited to how many USB ports you have on your computer. And then once you start adding USB, those little USB extension things, it's harder to mix them. So that's my biggest gripe with USB mics. If you're doing one or two mics, they're great. But if you want to go up from there, then you're going to need a mixer for sure.
Okay, and sorry for butchering that up, Amy. I really need everybody always picks some of the others like, I need to put my glasses on.
Yeah.
So we're caught up on questions right now. So basically, I just kind of one thing that struck me odd when you guys interviewed me was before we went live, the first time you had said you didn't want to know anything about me. Is that common practice? And why do you do that? Because I like to know everything about my host or my co-host.
Okay, I think that was more me, only because it's like, and this goes back into the style of podcast that you want to do or the style of show you want to do. So with us, it's just like, had I known more about you beforehand, I would have probably already known all that I did. But because I had no knowledge of you prior to Randy telling us about you, I was just like, I think it would be better. And this is the extent of
our reactions are going to be more organic. They're going to be, authentic.
I hate one of the things is like when you watch reality TV shows, those reactions, they've been rehearsed time after time. And the reason why I know that is because one of our good friends and a friend of the show who's been on once, Andreas Alcantar, who's actually a DJ and a UFC or a mixed martial arts fighter. He's a credible guy, but he also has a SAG card, so he's been on movies and TV shows. And he said, "Yeah, all that stuff is rehearsed." He's been. He was. I don't remember. You remember the show? I don't want to ask how old you are. I'm pretty sure you're aware of the show. It was a show back, I think, in the early 2000s or late 90s. It was called Next on MTV. So it was just like the guys would get in a bus and they would, and it was like a dating show, like the Love Connection for teenagers back in those days. So they would get out and, they would kind of like go on a little mini date and then next, or I'm going to keep you. Anyway, so as soon as he got off the bus, the girl was like, next, like didn't even bother to talk or anything, just next to him. But he said, yeah, it's kind of like that's all rehearsed. It's all so I didn't want to
be X.
Yeah, so he knew he wasn't going to get picked. He just didn't know exactly how it was going to happen. But it's like we already know beforehand. It's all smoke and mirrors. So like when we wanted you on, I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, remember that. That's interesting for our audience to know, but I already know it, so I'm going to act surprised. Oh wow! And the reason why, and I hate to, I used to love listening to these guys back in the day when radio was still such a big thing. But the Bob and Tom Show, which is a morning show that they played on the classic rock station out here in Modesto, 104.1, the Hawk, the Hawk. But they're funny. They would always have guests on, but their guests would repeat the same joke that they said last time, and they all would be like, "Oh!" And I'm just like, you laughed the same way when they said it last time. Don't tell me that this is the first time you've heard that joke. So it's like I wanted to be more sincere. I want to give the audience and our guest more credit than just to you know.
To make a long story longer.
Sorry, I have that. This is one of the reasons why I know that I need to be on a podcast, because I got so much that needs to be said, and everybody in my household gets tired of it. So I'm just it's like throwing something in that's a bad way of putting it, but like throwing it out in the let's just say the ether. I was gonna say something else. Just throwing it out into the ocean for somebody else to, like throwing a bottle. Maybe somebody else will appreciate it more than I do, or my family does. Yes, universe.
And getting back to when Plavy was talking about his house being haunted, Kenneth Torres says he'll come out and investigate.
Oh man, don't stir nothing up in my house.
Well, okay, so and that's an interesting talking about going on an investigation. So we didn't have the privilege of being able to go with you or to go out and do anything with you when you were in Las Vegas. And that was really unfortunate, because I was really looking forward to that. So the fact that now I'm dropping on myself.
Oh, now it's paranormal.
Oh my gosh, my tortugas, they fell down. But now Kenny, you're in our state, buddy. So we're gonna go hunt you down. Look
down. At me, I'm off. I thought I heard a noise in the hallway. Did you see me? I'm off. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Crazy kid.
Well, hopefully you guys can investigate with me sometime this year, because I don't have final plans yet, but I know I will be out sometime soon for my book tour.
Nice.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So, and that'll be, if it goes the way it should go, we'll cover Nelson, Goldfield, Gold Point, and we'll be back at McCall School of Mines.
Right on.
For the investigation
and you had asked me about any local areas here in the Central Valley here in California, if I knew anything, and there's really not much. I know, like they say that Columbia is this little old cowboy town up in the foothills here, and they have a hotel that sees regular guests still. It's like right in the middle. It's like literally old. They even have people that dress up in old cowboy. I would say costume.
That's one of my favorite places to go to.
Yeah, but that hotel they say is haunted. So I know they like. I don't know if it has they didn't have like a banquet room or something in that. I don't remember, but I
believe a lot of hotels are haunted. I had a friend whose daughter worked cleaning rooms at a hotel, and it wasn't uncommon. Maybe one or two people they did walk in and the person's deceased. So
yeah.
So now that after he told me that, I was like, next time I stay in a motel, I'm like, did someone die on these sheets right here? You know what I mean? Like, it's like hospitals. You know, I'm not scared to go into hospitals. Like a lot of people don't like going into hospitals, but it's like, just imagine how many people died there, and anyway,
countless. Yeah.
But so we'll be hopefully in that area, and the reason why I was asking about locations is because we're in the process of planning some nationwide events.
Oh wow, okay.
So
yeah, I know there is
some. Let me know.
I know there is some like paranormal. I mean, there isn't. And what's funny is we've tried to research, like in our area, there isn't no verifiable, I would say, good ethical. Well, I believe to be good ethical paranormal groups that I would trust out here, because that's something that we would look. That's why having Kenny now a little bit closer than Vegas. I think where he's at is only like an hour and I mean, no, maybe 2 hours away or something like that. So that makes it way more accessible than going out to Florida, which I wouldn't mind. I hear Florida's nice this time of year. So
I got it was in the 60s yesterday, but back in the 80s today.
Dang.
Wow, 80s.
It's 57 right now.
It was 81.
Wow,
right now it's 57 here. It's like, dang.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So do you prefer Restream or StreamYard?
Well, that's a question for you, Heather.
I know,
because
I've never heard of Restream, but you guys know I'm on StreamYard right now, so I guess this is the one I prefer.
Yeah.
This is our first time.
We don't really stream though live, honestly, huh, Rev? I've been a couple times, but we've done like Facebook Live, I think.
Yeah, we tried the live thing. I don't like the live stream because number one, like we said, we go back to what kind of podcast do you want to do? And for me, I want to have something that I could refine, that you could sit in front of and not necessarily edit out content, but at least get it to a production value or a visual value that you would want to see on TV. And one of the things is what I would do is I look at not necessarily what other people are doing to follow a model, because you don't want to do that, but you want to engage with your audience as best as you can. And for me, part of engaging with an audience or just with anybody in general is aesthetic. So obviously you can see I have some of my aesthetics, as I call them, all around me. Because I'm trying to create a mood and an attitude, an atmosphere, so to speak, of our personality, and as well as you look at some, like, I didn't want it to be like a traditional like newscast, or like what you would see like Joe Rogan, and which is a good model. I like that model. I'm trying to think of other podcasters that I follow. There's other ones that I listen to. Like even what's interesting is there's a great Christian apologist that I follow by the name of Dr. James White, and he does a podcast also similar in vein to what we do. Of course, it's always really serious. He's talks about the Bible and things along those lines. But it's kind of funny because it'll have I think he has a Star Trek ship in the back. He has a stuffed animal of Martin Luther and just little like sci-fi stuff, because that's it kind of like brings you into a different element. It's like, oh, he's serious, but at the same time he has a softer side. So I think in the beginning we said we'll feed off but not bite off. We'll feed off other people's podcasts that we both enjoy watching, because me and Rev both enjoy different types of podcasts. Or different delivery of podcasts. Like I like more informational, sit down, give you the facts. I think Rudy likes more, the joking and and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's what we bring together. I think that's what I like listening to our shows. I don't know about anybody else, but I really do. And that's why we started doing music too, because I didn't like the music on the radio. I was like, I'll make my own music, Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. Well, another thing too, though, is like the great opportunity. So we know that the market is flooded with podcasts. You can't turn left or right without running into somebody's new podcast. And I think somebody actually turned it into an ad mocking the fact that, oh, you should listen to this podcast. So, okay, it's just another podcast to add to the list that people are telling me to listen to. But at the same time, I think the great thing about it, even if you don't like, I'm not necessarily doing this to get famous, to put my name out there or whatever. Like I said, it was just mainly, it's a hobby. We like doing music. I like doing videos. I had a side business for a little bit where I was a videographer, and I did videos for weddings, and did commercials for a couple of organizations out here. So I just love doing it at the same time. So we're doing this mainly because we like to do it. We know that we're good at what we do, whether it's the audio or the video or the presentation, building a set like we did because we wanted to be appealing. But I think the most important aspect too is not just what your content is and what you're talking about, but also who you're talking to. I mean, if you have an opportunity to bring somebody on. So the one thing that I will say, because I love Play B. I mean, we're family. We call each other cousins, primos. That's what we call each other. But at the same time, we're not blood related, but we're so close that we just see ourselves like that. But at the same time, the one thing that I don't like about us is on most topics, we agree.
We agree on everything.
I'm like, no, come on. We need so that's why we bring on, for instance, my brother, who's actually a legit, just straight atheist. And, just hates everything in the world. So it makes an interesting conversation. I wouldn't recommend him for other people to talk to, but at the same time, it's good to bring in. That's why I appreciate you bringing me on or allowing me to be on, knowing that I don't necessarily hold to the exact formulation of how you look at the paranormal as you do, as the Chris McKenna. And I love and respect Chris McKenna because I think he does great work. I think that the legacy that he's taken on is great. I think what you and Kenny are doing are great. And the fact that you're willing to reach out and like, hey, let's talk, let's be friends. It's kind of like that olive branch. At the same time, it's like being able to talk to people that are on your same vein, but not being afraid to talk to people that may not think exactly how you do. And that's one of the beautiful things. It's like me and B, we click too well. Like we need to bring other people on that don't click like us. And we've talked to people that are not aligned with our beliefs on the P word thing. I'm not even going to bring it up to that may not disagree with us on certain things. But we, at the end of the day, we're having a civil conversation about it because there's too much.
People grow. I mean, people grow by having logical disagreements, but allowing one person to speak their truth and understanding that some, that's the thing of it. Having a mature conversation, I think, is what's
lacking.
Cool. Yeah, because it's good to have different opinions. If we all had the same opinion, life would be boring, you know.
Well, the thing that I like is I like learning. I like getting to people's presuppositions. Like whenever I talk to somebody, it's like everybody makes assertions. Okay, well, let's get to the presupposition of that assertion or that comment or that belief. You know, let's walk down there. Like when it came to, you know, when I first met you, I'm like, I'm interesting. She has a PhD in paranormal psychology. I want to know more about that. I don't want to discredit that. I want to know more about that. And as you started sharing and you started to say, okay, I do what I do because here's the reason why. And especially when you went back and you were talking about the instances with the apparition of your grandfather. And I'm like, okay, that fits a lot of the pieces because people are not created in a vacuum. We become who we become because of the experiences that we have around us. And what a joy it is to sit with somebody and hear that experience, hear that transformation where they went from A, B to C to become this, whether they turn into something negative or whether it turns into something positive. There's still something to gain within that journey. And that's a journey that a lot of people want to share. And because of the miracle, the technology that we have before us, we have access to do that. We'd love to talk to anybody from any walk of life, from any perspective. I don't care what it is. I mean, we've had people that, you know, like for instance, my brother, like I said, we do not agree on. It is a miracle when that we agree if we agree on something, but I find it engaging because that's how we do. B is right. That's how we grow. And I'm long-winded. Thank you.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. She's all yep.
This might as well be your show, right? Like the Rem show.
I'm just zoning out. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right?
But actually, before we answer this question, sorry, Philip, just 1 minute. Getting back to the listening to your own podcast, that goes to when you guys called me out on not watching my own documentary.
I forgot about that.
And I had to, and it wasn't because I was afraid to watch it. I knew it was good. I have full faith in the production company doing an amazing job, which they did, but I just couldn't see myself.
Yeah.
So when you guys wanted to interview me about it, I was like, I guess I got to go watch.
Okay.
Well, you know, it's weird because like on home videos or something, when I'm just do video and like at a birthday party on my phone, I hate hearing the way my voice sounds. But for some reason, when I listen to my own voice on a song or on a podcast, I'm like digging. I'm like, yo, that's tight. But it's just weird. I don't know. I'm conceited, I guess.
I record these. They go up on YouTube, and I never watch them again.
Well, I think one of the main reasons why I watch it, and it's interesting too, though, because my pastor does the same thing. It's like he'll listen to it too, and I think anybody that if you want to learn and grow to speak, I guess it is a phobia that a lot of people have. It's just like, but for me, I had the same thing. It's just like, but if you want to learn your tics and your habits, and this is nothing against you, because I think you know how to present very well. So I don't think that there's something I feel like you need to go back and you know, but I think for most people that are learning and growing in that aspect of, because one of the biggest fears that people have is public speaking, standing in front of people and speaking. So I think going back and listening to what you've said and how you've said it, there's times where the couple times that I've been able to get up and preach, in front of a church and speak in public settings, it's just like, oh God, I wish I was more clear on that, or I wish I wouldn't have said it. It's good to learn that so you can become a more refined speaker. So when I listen,
more aware of your tics and habits,
your tics,
or bad habits. Yeah.
Your and your uhs and your yeah.
And I find this funny because you have Randy sitting next to you, but when his wife was hosting a networking event, and I think he was there. She gave me 30 minutes to 45 minutes to do a presentation on networking and network marketing. I had the whole presentation out. I had slideshows and everything. I did what should have taken at least a half hour in less than 10 minutes.
Wow.
I was so nervous talking in public that I just was like, click, click, next. And I did the whole thing real fast.
Yeah, I get that. The first time I ever spoke in front of in a church when I preached, it was like I think okay, you got about 30 minutes. Okay, about 7 minutes in, I'm done. What do I do? So it gets that. But I listen to it too, just because I'm looking to different ways to improve different things, and I think that's one of the main reasons. Especially if you want something to be good and be successful, or be looked at in a positive light, you kind of want to do that. But I understand the hesitation for people not wanting to. I didn't like it either, but I eventually got over it, especially once the quality started getting better in what we were doing.
Well, I even get uncomfortable listening to EVP sessions if I'm conducting them.
No way.
It's like I get squirmy. It's like I hear my voice and it's like, oh. My husband just commented. He says that I won't even let him re-listen to the podcast when I'm around. I tell him to turn the volume off.
Oh, so you haven't listened to our show then with you on it, right?
I have, because he played it, but yeah,
Okay.
It makes me a little. I got to get used to it, because this is what I do now. So
Yeah.
But Philip had asked, what video program do you record on?
Well, we don't record on a program. We used to record through OBS, but we used a webcam. But I didn't like the quality. The quality was subpar for my liking. So what we ended up doing is, when we record, we use a 4K camera. Not necessarily because I want to record in 4K, because you don't really need to record in 4K in a podcast, especially in our setting. I just at least having that bandwidth. So once you start compressing, at least you're compressing something that's larger instead of compressing something that's smaller if you needed to go smaller. So we got more pixels and everything to work with, to a better resolution. But we record on the 4K camera usually, unless it's a pinch, then we'll use a webcam and do OBS. And then the editing program I typically use, if I'm on a computer, I'll use Adobe Premiere. Or if I'm on my phone, there's what's the name of that? I don't even know the name of the app, actually. KineMaster is a good it's a good resource, and InShot too. I use both those and kind of mix them together for editing on your phone. I mean, and you could also save the file in 4K. So that's what I mean. Everything you need is on your phone. Video, record, audio, and the programs to edit it is all there.
And just kind of, how do you go about finding your guests for your show?
Besides, we call Heather Leigh.
Well, that's interesting. So I'm basically the one that books the guests, I guess. So this is how the progression went. It just started with me and Jose, and even though I like me and Jose, I don't like doing shows. And being honest, just me and Jose, just because, like I said, we agreed too much, and it's just like there's no point of contention. I think that makes for interesting conversations when there's points of contention or there's a new experience. And me and Jose have no contention, very little contentions, and no experience. We know each other. I was about to say inside and out, but I'm like, that don't sound right. So
that's for a different podcast.
But we know each other. We basically know how we think is what I'm trying to say. So I know pretty much what he's going to say. So if I ask a question, I'm just like, well, I already know what he's going to say. If I bring up a topic, I know what he thinks about it. So there's nothing new. So what I started to do is started looking around. So one of the first guests that the first guest we had was my brother, because he's a very interesting person to talk to, very dynamic and very thoughtful and not shy to give his opinion. Then the second person we had was the great Randy Gardner. He's sitting right here, so I can just I haven't. And when I talked to him, and they said, "Hey, I know this person. You should talk to Heather." So we reached out to Heather. So we've talked to Heather. We've talked to other people that friends of friends. So it's just basically growing. I don't want to say community, because it's not necessarily growing a community. I've just looked at people that are interested in that are on a smaller end of, like, they're not like. I'm not going to call Joe Rogan and be like, "Hey, can you be on our podcast?" But I'll call up like Alex the Rebel, who's a really interesting guy. He's a very positive speaker, or positive motivated speaker. He's really always positive, always giving encouragements.
He's like a guru, man.
Yeah. So I was like, "Hey, man, were you willing to come on?" And he gracefully came on. The same thing with you gave us the information to Kenny. You gave us the information for Chris McKennell. Who else have we had on? Scott, Pastor Scott Bird's been on. And then I got other people lined up. I have Dr. Robert Chin, who's just retired. He's just retired after 30 years practicing medicine. We're going to have him on at some point to talk about COVID and the vaccine. Who else are we going to have on? There's other people where I'm trying to book. Randy's wife, actually. We're going to have her on to talk about. And I was going to have Play B do a personal assessment, so we can see his character. So, because she's really, me and my wife had done that with her, and it was really awesome. So it just reach out to the people around you, especially people that don't think exactly how you think, and just start dialoguing and record it. Get in a setting. Of course, California is, I think California is a single party consent state. So I'd still get the other person's permission before you start recording conversations. Yeah, come on, get in some trouble here. So, but yeah, I think it's just sit down and start off by having a conversation and finding people that that you either mesh with, or people that you that you learn new experiences from, or that you are contentious with. I think those are all positive ways in a respectful manner.
The main thing is to stay open and polite. You know, I mean, just because someone's views don't align with yours doesn't automatically make them wrong or right. You know, just being open-minded and being willing to learn, I think, is the main thing, honestly, at least for me, is being able to stay teachable. You know what I mean? Because I do this self-balance, self-check once a week, once every couple days, where I'm like, why am I thinking this way? Am I being influenced to think that, or is that something I really believe in? And then I kind of have to check myself. So I think that's the beauty of being able to hang around people that don't share the same ideas is maybe you're just missing something. You're like, hey, oh shoot, this does make sense. You know, I would have missed that if I would just put my blinders on and just stayed over here. You know, so I think that's the main thing is to be courteous and teachable with your guests. You know, because you might learn something.
Right. And the one thing I want to add to that, just because I have experience with doing that, is don't be afraid to ask out to the big names. I've actually reached out to several. A lot just ignored me. Some just outright said no. But there have been some guests on the different shows that I've hosted that have said yes, that have surprised me. And I'm just like, you know, was floored that some of them even took the time of day to do it. So you never know. The worst they could say is no. And that comes from the network marketing person in me. Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to step out of our comfort zone and do that one day. Just
it's a challenge. It is a challenge because rejection is something that a lot of people don't have a good coping mechanism for.
And not to do a shameless plug, but once I finish this Ghost Towns books, I do have other books that I'm working with Chris McKinnell on. But I had a book that I started before I got hired by History Press, and it's 13 things ghost hunting has taught me about network marketing.
Oh nice.
Wow.
So, and that talks about how not to be afraid.
Interesting.
So hopefully that can get published soon.
We already went over in our podcast how you're not afraid, especially with you yelling at the ghosts to do it again when they grabbed you on the shoulder or something.
I never antagonize the ghost. I encourage them.
Oh, that is interesting. No, but I think for us, it's like we are serious about what we do. It is kind of a hobby, but kind of not, because we both have full-time jobs. So this isn't what we do as a career yet.
I can't wait for that day, man.
So and I think you always got to think big, and I think throwing the net out there and seeing what you get in terms of people to speak to, I think is always a positive. And I think we even myself speaking, we could be surprised on the kind of responses that we would get. And I think one of the things I'd add to that, and I think it also depends if this is why B, when he said at the beginning, was really important, knowing exactly what you're shooting for, what kind of podcast. If your comfort zone is just one area, hey, you just want to talk about sports, okay, that's fine. If you want to just talk about this one thing, well, that's fine. But at the same time, it's very limiting, I think. But if that's what you want, then shoot for it. You do give it everything you got. I mean, a lot of people have made some of the biggest podcasts I follow only talk about sports. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. But for us, it's just like, I don't want to say I'm a polymath, so to speak. But I have a lot of different interests that are far beyond just one one category. Like I said, I study a lot of scripture. I do a lot of theology, but also do a lot of history. I look into the sciences. I love sports. I talk about sports. So it's just like music is another thing. We talk about music. There's a lot of avenues so me being boiled down into I'm only going to talk about this, I think is very limiting. And that's not what I would feel comfortable in. I like talking about everything.
Philip wants to know if you've ever had a guest that was so bad you didn't publish the show.
Yeah. Angel, AV.
I think yes.
I think one or two of his episodes, remember?
The last one we just did, actually, so my brother was in studio because he lives in Washington, so he actually came down and visited for the holidays. So we got him in the studio, we started talking, and I'm still on the fence whether or not I'm going to publish it or not. Not necessarily.
I was wondering why you haven't asked me for the audio yet. And I'm like, I haven't messed with the audio either.
I know, and I'm still going. So if you see it up, you know or you don't see it up, because that's probably going to be the next show if it goes up. But it was kind of like airing our grievances a little bit, because all three, actually, me, B, and my brother all come from the same religious traditional background, the same church, and all of us have had some very negative experiences. So we were kind of airing grievances, and I don't know if that would be probably the best.
That's a good way to get sued, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and don't put content that'll get you sued if you want to be a successful podcast.
Yeah. Remember, the key word is allegedly.
Yeah. These are just my opinions.
It's these allegedly haunted.
Yeah. Allegedly and my opinion. So you got to remember those two words will keep you out of. I don't know about if they'll keep you from like what is negligence, but at least they'll keep you out of trouble for slander.
Yeah. And that leads me to my next question: is what was the biggest mistake you've made as podcast host?
Oh.
Not hitting the record button.
oh yeah. Well, so knowing. Okay, so here's another thing. So this is one of the. We've done this too many times. I don't know how many times we've done it with Heather, where we've either forget to hit the record on the camera, or when we're using OBS, and you have to push a button to flip over the camera, and I think it was just a black screen. And I'm just we're talking. The first podcast we did with Heather was all no video. It was just audio. And I was so excited. Our first major guest. Like I was like fired. I was like, I hope I don't sound like an idiot, because it was these guys don't know what they're doing. So like we were trying to be on our game, and we kind of were. And I listened back to that show after we published it, and I'm like, God, I sound like an idiot. Why did I say that? I need to be more clear in how I ask a question, and because. Anyways, I'm rambling, and I was going to say, because I kept rambling, and here I am rambling. But anyways, so see, that's what happens when you listen to your podcast. You learn those things. You may not change them, but at least you're aware of them. But yeah, so I think that was the biggest thing. Is it's like, okay, you know what kind of podcast you're going to have, but you have to understand that you have to be on your game, especially if you're going to record, you're going to do the sound.
Be proficient with your equipment.
Be proficient with. Be aware. Situational awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I got to. Oh crap, Heather, we got to start over.
Yeah.
I don't think we had. Oh, we did. Okay, so we did, but there was a reason why with ALO, we recorded it twice. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but there was reasons for that. So let's just say there was a little bit too much libations going around.
Yeah. That's fun.
Don't drink and ghost hunt.
Yeah. Don't drink and podcast.
Yeah. Just a little background before we touch on this question. Several months ago, our YouTube channel for Ghost Education 101 was shut down because it was reported by several people as spam. Have you ever had anyone jealous to try to sabotage your podcast somehow?
I don't think we're big enough yet.
And we don't know why we were considered spam. We posted once every 2 weeks on YouTube.
I think YouTube took down one video because it wasn't. We forgot to click not for children or something. You know, when you upload it. And
you got to make sure you click it. I don't think we've had.
They took our whole channel down.
We're not big. We're not big enough. Oh, the whole channel.
The whole channel's gone.
Wow.
All of our videos, everything.
Oh, and that's another thing. B, here's some housekeeping things we need to take care of. We need to make sure we download everything off of YouTube so we don't run into that, because I'm pretty sure if we've said enough, especially our COVID episode, that probably would get us kicked off. So we gotta.
Well, you know, I think the people that sabotage us the most is the algorithms. Honestly.
Yeah.
Well,
what we'll do is, since we don't have a YouTube channel, I'll send this to you guys, and you guys can post it.
Yeah.
Well, what's that other thing, Rev, that I was telling you about? It's like YouTube. It's a YouTube alternative, and Rumble, and then you can monetize it. You don't have to have a certain amount of subscribers. You can monetize, with no subscribers. It's called Rumble. You want to check it in. That was actually getting pretty popular.
Well, so the biggest thing for growth for a podcast that I know that, like I say, for instance, is just sharing. Like, because we're not big enough right now to even have haters. So we welcome the haters. In fact, we will talk to haters. Haters, tell me how dumb and stupid I am. I don't mind it. I'm not easily offended. But at the same time, it's just like always share content that you come across. I always, if there's something that tickles my fancy, I'll just go ahead and just share it, just because I know, number one, not just because I enjoy it, but I'm like, somebody else will probably enjoy this, or this is worth somebody listening to. Especially when somebody puts time and effort into something, share it. Like whenever Heather comes on, I'm like, this is something that I get benefit out of. I'm going to share it, and I want other people to kind of just listen in. Whether there's a lot of people that I know that are in my sphere that may not agree with it, but I think it's worth sharing and worth people listening to. So if you find our show interesting and you are in a sphere where others might find it interesting, share. That's my plug. We didn't get a plug in yet, so I wanted to get a plug in.
That's your shameless plug, but they don't know where to share you from, so we'll continue that later on at the end.
Yeah.
Share a show that you don't know where to find.
I know, right?
Just
call Heather. Right. Everybody, just call Heather.
Yeah.
Well, I share on my page. So my shameless plug is at Dr. Heather Leigh. I don't share it on Ghost Education 101 because we only keep it to our Ghost Education things and stuff like that. But you can find it on my show as well,
nice. Or
my page, which I've shared several times. There was a question I had, but I started babbling. You're rubbing off on me.
I know, right? I have that effect on people. I don't know what it is.
Oh crap. Yeah, I lost it.
It's okay.
I do this all the time.
It wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't.
Right.
What do you suggest to someone who's hosting a podcast already, but then starts struggling, whether it's equipment malfunctions, which we have all the time in the paranormal field, or just brain fades, I guess like writer's block, but podcast block?
Well, that's you go ahead, B. I've been talking too much. Go ahead.
Yeah. On the one question I have no answer to.
Oh.
I think that comes back to zero, finding your zero. Because there is sometimes too where me and Rev were like, but see, our show's different. We can just get in the studio and don't even know what we're going to talk about. And then we just, whatever happened to be on our mind that week or whatever. But I think a lot of the times, especially when we're doing music and I'd have writer's block, I would just have to recenter myself. I don't do so much anymore, but I used to do a lot of meditating and self-reflection. And that's where all my music came from, was the struggles. I guess everybody's music, right? But in doing that, though, it allowed myself to connect with my inner being, if you will. So sometimes when I'm having difficulties, not only in the podcast world, but in life in general, I just like to go somewhere quiet, give myself 10, 15, 20 minutes and self-reflect and come back to zero. And in doing so, it always opens up another avenue. It's weird. It's like, okay, well, then ideas start flooding in. So that's what I do. But half the time, me and Rev, we just get in there, we BS each other and record it, and we call it a podcast. So
I envy you guys. I have my shows planned out for the next year.
Oh, really? Dang.
No, we can't do that.
We probably should do that. But
that's why I get messages from you. Can you be on the show this week?
Yeah,
that's why. Yeah, I try my hardest.
In 10 minutes. Yeah, what are you gonna do in 10 minutes? Yeah.
Philip says, "Careful meditating. That's when the ghost will talk to you."
Oh boy,
is that true? See, and this is okay. So
my inner voice talks to me.
Your inner what?
My inner voice.
Oh, and and that's another thing is I'm gonna start asking questions because like the one question I have, and okay, so this is my skepticism. So allow me to be skeptical here on your show. So the one thing that
I can do it in 30 seconds or less.
I'm like, wait, no, you still have time.
No, well, here's the thing though. When B was talking, I was trying to stay as still as possible.
You were squirming in your seat, so it was hard for you.
Well, was it? Was that noticeable? I was trying to stay as stiff as possible, so everybody would think, "Oh my gosh, his camera froze." But then I remembered I got the video games like going in the background, so that's never gonna. Anyways, that was my failed attempt. But anyways, wait, what was I saying? Oh, the questions. I'm having fun. This is our first time on somebody else's podcast. I love it. I love not having to be in charge and worry about hitting the record button or whatever.
Like you're in charge, so
sorry, man. No, I'll tell you this.
Just having fun.
This is why I love Kenny, because Kenny is a very strong personality, and he's somebody that I love talking to because there's never a dull moment with Kenny. Where are you, Kenny? You still there?
Yeah, I think he's still here, but I love Kenny to death. But when we're on a broadcast together, I had a host come on because we did a podcast or a video cast on Christmas Day.
I seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like he started talking, and I just was like,
yeah.
So I've been rebooked on that one without him.
I love Kenny.
I love him to death, and he has great things to say.
He does. Oh, but
Yes.
and that's what I haven't forgot my question. I'm just gonna ramble for a minute. But like with Kenny, it's just like he's the type of personality that you need to have if you're gonna do a podcast that's gonna be very intriguing, because you want people, I guess, like me and that just don't have an off switch, because the worst thing you can have is dead air.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and he's a talker. That's why I love having him on my show, whether it's this one or the Warren Files.
Yeah, so
he helps keep the conveation going.
Dead air.
I love that.
So, anyways, back to my question. Now that I've able to get
all that to say what now?
That I love you, B.
Back.
Love you too, my boy. Yeah.
One love. No, so the skepticism. So here's part of my skepticism, and I love being able to come on and not be afraid to ask questions of certain things. So the one thing that if you go back to our show with Randy when we were talking about his paranormal experience and his paranormal puppies, the one thing that that I kind of made a kind of little half sideways comment about was he's seen an apparition of an old lady sitting in a chair. And one of my biggest questions, even still today, is how does an apparition, I get an apparition of a person because I do believe in the soul. I do believe that we have, we're spirits. I believe in the spirits and souls and everything like that. But at the same time, I don't understand how a apparition can manifest clothing and a chair. I don't get. Yeah, it's like the question the joke that we made was kind of like, maybe the chair is a ghost. I don't know.
Maybe it's the stone tape theory, where things are just stuck in time and place, and you're just seeing a replay. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not no expert, but I think it's called the stone tape theory, right?
Yeah, residual haunting.
Nice. See,
similar to that. Yep, you got it.
I'm learning.
Theory. There's several theories about that. I mean, I know everyone jokes that be careful what you're wearing today, because if you died today, that's what you're wearing in the afterlife. But there's several theories. My son's giving me a dirty look on the other end of the computer. But one theory is that we're on parallel universes that are constantly cycling, and when we see spirits, it's because our universes are crossing temporarily.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a theory that I'm looking into. I'm not 100% sure. And it could be one of those things where we're the ghost to them.
Right.
Yeah. And I heard, so that goes in line with like Michio Kaku, the physics professor that talks about string theory and multiverse ideals. And that always struck me as intriguing. I don't think there's any biblical ground to refute or disprove that theory, so I'm interested to see where eventually it goes. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so if I believed in the paranormal, I mean, that would be one aspect to kind of hang a hat on some kind of scientific verification, because that does make sense, especially when you listen to the way that Dr. Kaku actually explains it. And I'm just like, maybe black holes are actually gateways into other universes or parallel universes that, because I guess the thing that he had said one time was that a black hole is black on our side, but on the other side, it's actually a white hole where it's like a wormhole where you actually enter in. So it's kind of like, so whenever we see apparitions, is that same thing. He didn't say it that way, but that's how I would explain it. It's like, that's right. How we see the paranormal, because they're rubbing against each other.
I watched a documentary was it like 99? I can't remember what it was called. I wish I could, because I want to watch it again. But these people, I think they were in England, right? And what happened is they would go buy, rolls of film, like 35 millimeter film or whatever, for cameras, picture cameras. And they wouldn't open it, leave it in the box, wouldn't even, they'd come in that little canister, remember? And what happened is they would just ask questions. And they could develop the film, and there'd be the answers on the pictures. And then apparitions started popping up in the film, that hasn't been tampered, hasn't been opened, never been in a camera. And then they'll go develop it, and there'd be people there. I forgot the name of it. Have you heard of that doc? It was, I don't know, I forgot what it was called, but Man, it was awesome. I was like,
I don't remember what it's called, but there's so many different things, because that also goes along with the theory that you can, like, if you ask an EVP question, the answer you get is actually your mind or someone else who's around you's mind answering the question for
manifesting it. So, oh,
right.
wow.
So
Well,
one
that
thing
believe?
that
Oh, I'm sorry.
Philip suggested is that the ghost could have been using telepathy, projecting to the viewer's mind, since the ghost is using psi, is just one theory.
That's a lot of technical terms that I don't.
Yeah, I got it. Hold on, I'm all stuck. I was
going to say, screenshot it and then Google search the words.
Yeah, and then I look up those words in the children's dictionary. I'm like,
Yep. And then mediums will tell you that a spirit will present themselves to you in the way they want you to see them.
No.
Okay, and that's another question I have too, though. It's just like how much free will does the apparitions have? You know, especially when you're talking about if I'm sorry to sound skeptical, but it's just like, and these are questions that just resonate. I have questions about everything, but like when you're looking at, do they willfully appear whenever they want, or is there certain conditions that need to be met, like whether it's like environment or person's acceptability to, you know what I mean? These are questions
it takes a lot of different factors, and that's what we're researching. Because even when we do, like, the Warren Foundation is an actual research foundation, so we're collecting data that is beyond interviewing clients and collecting EVPs. We do scientific data, like what was the weather like, were there any solar flares, what was the temperature.
That's awesome.
We do a whole bunch of stuff. What was the moon phase? And we document that so we can cross-track to see if any particular time or condition is more prone to having paranormal activity.
Oh, see, that's cool. Well, I have a question too. Check this out.
Real quick, this is about the film experiment, the skull experiment. Philip's my knowledge base for all these experiments.
Is that the name of the documentary thing? Or is that what it's called?
I'm not sure. That could have been the name of the documentary, or
the skull experiment. I'm going to look it up. But
Google it.
My thing is, like these ghost apps on your phone, or like voice recorders, and you got all these different things, right? Now, would you consider those a form of Ouija board? Because you're speaking and you're getting a response. Is that kind of the same thing? And is it safe? Is it safe to experiment with that kind of thing, or would you have to use the same amount of caution using these apps as you would with the Ouija board? If that makes sense, does that make sense?
It makes sense, because we've talked about it extensively. On this show and other shows. Essentially, Ouija boards can open doors to other, to let entities in, and you never know who you're talking to on the other end. Same thing with the EVPs, conducting paranormal investigations. If you're out there asking questions, you're opening yourself up to talk to the spirits, and you're opening doors. Again, we don't know who's on the other side. So there's several different things you can do. I don't recommend any of them if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Or if you're not prepared. I still do EVPs, even though I know a lot of people I work with don't. But their version of EVPs is doing it passively. They'll just set the recorder down and talk to each other, not acknowledging the spirits. So they're not opening up any doors is one way to do it. Just set it down and talk.
Oh, wow.
It is probably the safest way to do it. But yeah, I do consider EVPs and any type of communication with spirits similar to playing with. I mean, they're all under the same thing. You're trying to communicate with something that's, physically not there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, never mind.
Sorry.
Well, okay. This question's in that same vein. I had asked the question the last time you had Chris McKinnell on. I think Kenny was on that show too, and it was about you guys. I forget exactly what the topic was, but it was you're talking to that same one I referenced earlier. But I had asked a question about, because whenever we go up to Columbia, which is up in the mountains, and it's a really nice little town, up the hill a little bit's the old schoolhouse, and just above that, which is kind of weird, next to a schoolhouse, you have a cemetery. And I like just cruising through there. I find it really interesting, to just go and read headstones, not because I'm like got some kind of it's not a death fetish. It's just I like looking at the dates and be like, oh, this person lived from this time to this time. I wonder what their life was like, or the age, how this person, it's history. It's part of the history mindset. But I've always wondered, it's just like, is that putting myself at some kind of supernatural risk? Like you were talking. Randy, did you let your dogs in?
Sorry.
Can I-
Every show.
every show. Our show. What's the third show?
It's funny you say that because my dog's over here snoring. I was like, can you guys hear my dog? Because that's why I looked over here a couple times because she's just snoring away over here.
I thought it was Randy's ghost dog again.
All right.
He's here too.
It's funny though, because cemeteries, even though you can get paranormal activity there, they're really not paranormal hotspots because ghosts usually don't haunt where they're buried. The ghosts that are there are usually either they've been summoned by someone doing, either seances or Ouija boards or any other type of practices that bring spirits to the area, or even negative entities. Also, you have the spirits of those who felt comforted at the cemetery, visiting their deceased loved ones. So they keep coming back because we had one in Goldfield. We had someone at the Goldfield Cemetery communicating with us. And they were there seeing the grave of their loved one who died. He was actually a Confederate soldier in the Civil War. And he had died in Goldfield and was buried there. And it was like late 1800s, so 100 plus years ago. This person found comfort visiting the cemetery, and they were still at the cemetery.
Oh, dang.
Okay.
Well, I wonder if it's because they have a proper burial and a send off. I wonder if that has a lot to do with residual hauntings or hauntings in general. It's like, the person, okay, this is the end. Here we said a prayer, we properly buried you, and we, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Because I know I would like a proper burial. Who wouldn't, right? Better than So I don't know. But and how long can ghosts haunt? I mean, how come? I don't know. Like, how far do we go back? How what's the oldest ghost as far as like? Because we can reference dress and tie that to a certain period of time. But how come we're not seeing Roman ghosts or ghosts that go back even further?
Right,
and we're not in Italy.
No, and that's another theory. And I was just talking about it the other day, just chatting back and forth, doing some research and for Chris's book. And it's like a theory that a lot of people have is that over time, ghosts tend to fade. Like I think it was, hopefully someone out there can tell me exactly where it was, but I think it was the Gray Lady somewhere in England. Her ghost is actually still appearing, but it's more transparent than it was many years ago. So she's not fully coming out. Yeah. And then he had said that his grandmother Lorraine, they were in Italy, and she had seen Roman soldiers walking the streets, but she only saw them from the waist up. And when they mentioned it to the bartender, she was like, that makes sense because the road is 3 feet down that they would have traveled on.
Oh, snap.
So they
That's
were
true.
Following the same path that they would have back in the day.
Wow.
But because the street had been built up, she was only seeing them from the waist up.
Wow.
That is crazy.
So, yeah, so they're still there, but there's a lot of theories behind. I mean, my thing is why don't we see dinosaurs?
Yeah, right.
Wait, would they have ghosts?
Yeah, there's pet ghosts. Look at the Randy's dog.
You got dogs.
Oh, yeah, Randy's dogs, yeah.
Yeah. My mom has a cat that comes back and visits every time I go see her.
Yeah, I believe animals have a spirit. Why couldn't they have a spirit, Mm-hmm. I'm a big firm believer in that. And there's been accounts of people being comforted by ghost dogs or ghost pets, I know a couple. I've heard of a couple stories recently of people's dead animals coming back to say goodbye to them. You'll hear their dog holler, or a lot of times they say goodbye in that sense, and then they finally move on. But I like to think that eventually, when I'm 135 years old and I finally die, that I'll get to see all my previous pets that have passed on. That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Because they love us, they love us unconditionally. And why wouldn't they want to see us on the other side?
Yep. Yeah, I know when I see my mom, I felt I was sleeping on a blow-up mattress, and I felt like I thought it was her cat that she has now, crawl up on the bed and curl up behind my back. So I reached back to pet it. Wasn't there. And it wasn't in the room. So I know her last pet. I mean, it literally, I can feel the footsteps walking across the bed and then it laying down. And then you can hear down the stairs a clink, 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 clink. And it's her Pomeranian that died many years ago. And his collar used to clink every time he went down the stairs. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Dang. So that is true. How come we don't see dinosaurs, huh?
Or it's like one question I ask is, are there fish ghosts?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Well,
This is what I tell Rev sometimes, jokingly, but on a serious note too, is like, when I pass away, I hope I can remember all these questions to ask God,
Mm-hmm.
and sit down and have a conversation. Whether I'm going to heaven or hell, that's fine. But answer me this, like I have all these questions about ghosts and wormholes, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've sit still for long enough. No, the one thing I was going to say though is just like, because I tend. This is where I exercise my discipline, where I say that I won't go beyond what Scripture says. So, from my tradition, from what I see, animals don't have souls like people do, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure you think that's wrong. I just would like to be informed a little bit more why we would. I've never seen a ghost. Randy, my good friend, has seen a ghost dog, more than one, and like I said, I just don't know how to fit that in my frame of reference.
Charlie dog. What's his dog's name?
Dog named Charlie.
Well,
I think that's Randy.
Was it your dogs?
No, they weren't my dogs.
They weren't your dogs.
They were dogs that were in the house previously.
Do you know their names?
Okay.
No.
No. Okay, he doesn't know.
I never had a Charlie dog. Have you ever had a dog named Charlie, Rev?
Yeah, one of the people that died.
I don't think so. Maybe. I got to remember, I've had so many pets.
And real quick, getting back to the cemeteries, Amy, I agree with you. Cemeteries can be haunted by those that are buried there because they do stay behind to protect their graves, but it's very rare. Or if they've been disturbed, or if there's unclaimed or unidentified bodies where they're buried because they try to get something that. And then she had said someone is in to be a protective spirit, and I agree with that too. But 9 times out of 10, or even 8 times out of 10, usually they're not as haunted as hotels, hospitals, or anything else.
Right.
What kind of dog was it?
It was like an Irish wolfhound.
Oh, that's right, a wolfhound.
Okay.
That's right, I remember that. Oh, that sounded scary.
Okay, and there was something I saw, I got to find it again, when we were talking about the skull experiment happened in England in the 70s. It was a documentary on YouTube, and then he shared a link. So if you go back,
nice.
If you go back through,
I want to do a show on this, Rev, on that documentary. Is it legit though? Is it? I'm always
like, is it reputable?
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it. I've heard it, but there's a lot of things I've heard about, but I've never really looked into it.
Nice. Good deal.
Yeah. And didn't NASA show images of black holes eating matter but spewing it out on the other side? Almost like I love that analogy.
Yeah.
I don't know. The only thing that I remember them saying was just like, I don't remember them observing things going through. The only thing that I remember is just that light doesn't reflect in a black hole, so you can't see what's on the other side.
Well, what's crazy is a news article came up on my Google feed, and it says that they actually took a picture of a black hole and it was white. It was emitting light. So I don't know, man. Who knows?
And maybe that was the portal to them, and the black holes are the portals.
Yeah, we're on the other
us.
side of it. Yeah, we're on the other side of it this time.
I know, right?
Well, maybe that's why our universe keeps expanding. Maybe we were maybe that was the Big Bang. We got spit out of a black hole, and we're still expanding now.
Well, the thing is that's what they're saying. You got to remember when you look at the science behind it. So the universe is moving towards an eventual heat death, where everything will just collapse on itself. It's gonna be gone. So the black hole, what a lot of people like, you got to remember, from it's not verifiable. The Big Bang basically said there was one event called the singularity where everything then expands from, and the universe is currently expanding until it expands to the point where all energy is gone. So a lot of people were saying it's just like, well, the black hole, what's on the other side of the black hole is another universe that is started. So everything that goes through a black hole is going to the other side, and universe just expands, which is interesting. And this just boggles my mind. And this is why it's just like, when you think about the paranormal, the fact that the universe is infinite. Think about that. An infinite universe that does not fit in the normal realm of what we could observe on a natural level. Nothing. It's illogical. It is beyond normal thought to think of what infinity, the number infinity, to think of what goes on for eternity. There is no end or limit to. So the fact that we could look to something like that and say that exists, that's why I'm not a complete. I'm not a. How should I put it? When you look at the paranormal, it almost fits in that same category. There's the limits of understanding are so vast, and we may never come to it. It's the same thing with the Bible and with God. I can't sit here and point to a specific item and say this is why you should believe, and you can't deny this fact, because even when you look at the Bible, there are so many different interpretations. Men have come to Scripture and seen different things, and I understand that. But the simple part of the fact that there is just so many holes in knowledge. There are similar holes in knowledge probably when you look at the paranormal and the supernatural, and the same. Just when you look into the universe, there are so much holes in understanding. How does this happen? We don't know. That's my tangent.
Do you think we'll ever know? Like, or is it just so above our understanding that we'll just never know?
Well, that's what people were saying when about even just about flight, are just knowing like the fact that we're not the center of the universe. So there's always an extent where we're standing at this plane of understanding and thinking we will never know to that extent. But then we go back 10 generations and people would never have thought of a train or an automobile or an airplane. Nobody have ever thought about that. So you can never say never ever. But when you look at the possibility, especially when you're looking at a universe that is expanding basically forever, how do you fit that? How do you fit what you see in the natural sense into a natural mind? The fact that something goes on that there is seemingly no end to. You know what I mean? And that's why it's just like you have to understand that surrounds us every day. Even our own conscious is beyond our own understanding. The fact that we can articulate, hear, understand, even speaking to each other is a lot of people take that for granted, but the level of understanding in that is far beyond our own capable comprehension. So it's just like there are so many things that are out there right in front of our face that we don't completely understand. And that's where faith comes in ultimately, and what you decide to put your faith in.
Well, I believe the mind is so powerful that we can manifest things into this reality. You know, I've always said, you know, we're creators, you know, to a certain degree. And I think it was Chris McKennell that was saying like 90 some odd % of hauntings are self-manifested or manifestations. You know, they're not a lot of times it's not supernatural. It's just somebody puts so much mind power into something and manifests it. Which I'm a firm believer. You know, I've always said that, you know, you can speak things into existence. When I wake up every day, I speak it into existence. Today's going to be a good day, you know, and I walk in that, and it's sure enough, it is, you know. Case in point, at work, some young kid, you know, some 19-something-year-old, I see them all just beaten down. I'm like, hey, bro, what's the matter? You know, he goes, oh, man, I got all this work to do. I go, man, it's going to be a good day, bro. Say it. Say it's going to be a good day. You're going to get it done. He goes, yeah, you know, it is going to be. I believe it, bro. You got to say it. See him the next day. I go, how was it? You know? Because, oh, bro, I got all done and more. It was a good day. I go, see, you got to walk in it, bro. I guess that's where the faith comes in. But, you know, I'm a big, firm believer in being able to manifest our reality to a certain degree. But I don't know where that came from. Someone needed to hear it. Yes, Lord.
Well, and we've talked about that on our show a lot here. The Philip experiment.
Yeah, that's right.
A group of people got together every day for several weeks. And they talked about their friend Philip, who was non-existent, and how he died and was a ghost. And then after doing that every day at the same time, over and over and over, sharing the same story, Philip started appearing. Yeah.
Well, I put that in the same category as synchronicities. And every time I have a synchronicity, it could be a song on the radio or someone calling me on the phone or what have you. I'm thinking of that person prior to it happening. So half the time I wonder if it's just me manifesting that call from my mom, or, you know, I'm thinking of somebody, or I'm thinking of a song and boom, it'll pop up next on the radio, you know. Chronomesophes, Tulpa. Yeah, that's true. And that's where we got to be careful too. Aren't tulpas like those little dwarf things that come kill you? Or is that the borrowers? What are tulpas again?
They're just, as far as I've always known, they're just little things that have thoughts and emotions, and they can just appear.
Yeah, because in Mexico they're called duendes, and my dad used to tell us stories about them. He would see them here and there, or like at night he'd be outside and you could see their shadows running from rooftop to rooftop. You know, my niece was in Mexico last year, and she told me she saw one. She was outside smoking, and I guess they like to smoke, apparently, according to her. And she looked over the corner of a tree, and one was hanging off the side looking at her. So she put her cigarette down and ran off. And she was telling her mom about it. She goes, yeah, they'll typically show themselves to kids.
Mhm.
But when you see them, you're not supposed to cuss them out. Don't talk to them. Don't offer them anything. Just leave them alone. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
the
new to
Thin
me.
Man was a tulpa.
Oh,
So yeah, and it's just about anything. I know it's the rake is another one that we've self-manifested. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
I got a
crazy.
question because I know like there's a lot of these creepypastas that are out there. I don't know if you've read it. They're really interesting. I like listening. There's Ben Has Drowned. I don't know if you've ever heard that one.
Mm-mm.
We need to go over creepypastas on one of our shows. I think that's really
Yes.
interesting. Ben Has Drowned. There was you'll see the pictures. I think the Rake, they did a creepypasta about the Rake. They did a creepypasta.
Mhm.
In fact, I think the Slender Man started as a creepypasta. But now, listening to this as a skeptic, but I'm gonna ask this question because I am, I want to know your frame of thought when it comes to this. But when you see like these popularizations of creepypastas, and they either they reproduce past entities and they're just creating a story about it, or they're creating new entities like the Slender Man and other things like that, then do you then see people reporting experiences with that are related to certain creepypastas?
People get experiences
what a
based on what
creepypasta
they want to
is.
believe in.
Yeah.
I've never heard that term, but I'm assuming.
Oh, really?
this isn't it a YouTube channel or something?
No. Well, what a creepypasta is basically like it's instead of like a ghost story that you tell around a campfire, it's basically a scary story that's shared around the internet. Usually they get started on like message boards like 4chan and Reddit, and they kind of get spread around. And then at the point that it becomes popular, a lot of people have hard deciphering whether it's actually true. Like Ben Has Drowned is a really interesting creepypasta, and I'll briefly go over it because I always find it interesting. It's a story of this guy who actually was at a yard sale or something, and he buys a Nintendo 64 cartridge of Majora's Mask, the Legend of Zelda game, the Majora's Mask. And he played it, and it wasn't acting properly, and there was this apparition that kept appearing in game that he never remembered being there, and eventually that because in that game there was just text, and at one point it came to a point where there was a text that said Ben has drowned. Of course, there is no Ben in the video game, and but it's basically referring to the boy who owned that cartridge had died, and his spirit was manifesting in the game. So it was letting the player know that the boy who owned the cartridge had drowned. So it's just, I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now. Now I can't be down here by myself tonight. Thanks. But
you got Randy.
I got Randy. Randy's here with me.
And you got the
I've never.
ghost
I
behind
mean,
you.
I'm probably showing my age, but I've never heard of the term creepypasta. I just called it an urban legend.
Well, yeah, that's basically what they are. They're basically urban legends, but I think because of the popularization, every generation has to have their terms. So the creepypasta is basically, is one of those terms. But they're really interesting. In fact, I've been wanting to go over some of them in the podcast. It's just that we just haven't had the time to go over them. Yeah. But we got to do that.
Yeah, no, it's very possible, and there's a lot of stories about that. I mean, and there's even theories that every ghost that's out there is a manifestation of one type or another. And Chris talks about that a lot. Because, do our loved ones come to see us because we want them to?
It's like making a phone call.
Right. Are they visiting us, or are we just, manifesting them to visit us because it'll make us feel better?
Wow.
Even though I'm a firm believer that they are out there because of my interactions with my grandfather, but it does make me think, like when I told you guys I had my kidney disease diagnosis, I hadn't seen him in years. And then all of a sudden he appeared.
And
so
that's another thing. And I like I said, somebody had said something to me. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to remember what it was. Who said it? But something had said that they had seen somebody that looked a lot like my grandfather, like they were describing him. And I was like, you're describing my grandfather. What's going on? And
like
I forgot who it was. Maybe it was, but it was forgot what I don't remember now. I got to think now because somebody had mentioned that years ago. Who was it? Anyways, I'll remember it later. Then I'll have to call you.
Well, remember, I'm on the East Coast now.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it's like 8 o'clock.
For the morning.
What is it, like midnight over there now?
It's 10:50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I forget
Wednesdays
about that.
are a long day for me.
Oh, and another thing, I know that I'm glad you're doing well. So that's one thing I forgot to mention at the top of the show.
Thank you.
But I know that you had.
bit scary. My blood pressure was high. Went to the doctor just to have it checked, and she told me to go straight to the emergency room.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I'm glad you're doing
So-
good.
Thank you. I actually feel so much better. I took the whole weekend off. Off as much as I could. People caught me on social media and kept yelling at me to get off.
Oh,
They're like, you shouldn't be
yeah.
online right now.
Yeah, you should be resting up.
Yep. So, but I've actually gotten more done in the last 3 days than I probably have in the last 3 months.
Nice. Nice. I know I got 5 days off because my job's like, well, you're going to have to quarantine. So I'm like, yo, we could do this. Me and Rev have more time to do some shows. We'll do them
Wait.
remote. But
You couldn't get your background to manifest behind you?
no, I can't do it on here. That'd have been cool, though.
Oh, I sent him a picture of where he usually sits so he could look like he's in the studio with me.
And then we're going to superimpose it behind me. But
Yeah,
it didn't work
oh, well.
out. It worked out in the messenger.
Well, just checking real quick to see if we have any questions because we're getting close to the end.
Oh yeah.
And there's no questions. So what I'm going to have you guys do real quick is let everybody know where they can find you and when your next podcast will be airing.
You want me to go, B? Because you're waiting for me to talk.
Yeah, dude. I'm just kind of just like cruising. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. Because I know you're not feeling well. Everybody knows I don't like to speak, so I might as well. So. No, so right now our podcast, you could find us on Facebook mainly. That's where we post. That's where we do a lot of the posting. I'm not really on Twitter because I'm not that young. We're not on TikTok because I'm not 5 years old. No, I'm just playing. All those who have TikTok is fine, but mainly you could find us on Facebook and YouTube. Those are the two primary resources. We also have those are for our videos. Our audios are all on. Now you have to help me with the list, B. We're on.
Go to anywhere you can listen to podcasts: Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, the Apple thing, Google,
The Apple thing.
yeah, Google Play, Spreaker, SoundCloud. I mean, anywhere you could just Google the TAP. I think we pop up on the
Podcast
first
project.
result.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to point out there too is just because I know you have a vast audience and we're growing ours, and I know you have a lot of interesting people that listen to your podcast. We are a very casual podcast. If somebody reaches out to us and wants to talk with us or wants to share or just finds us interesting and hopefully wants to start a conversation with us, we are more than happy to talk to anybody. Please talk to us. I'm just playing. We're not that desperate. No, but like
But if
we are.
anybody wants to reach out to me, and I'll get you in contact with them.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we are more than willing and happy to speak to anybody because that's what we do. That's the whole point is it's just talking to people and just having fun. I mean, that's the point of life. We just want to have a good time and talk and learn, meet people. You know, that's the main goal of what we want to do.
Yeah.
And then our Facebook page is a safe place to share your experience, you know, or if you want to share one on our show, you can just private message us. And then if you feel comfortable recording it or writing it in or whatever, that'd be one of the best places to do that as well.
Or you can give us a call at 209. What was the phone number?
Oh, it's right there where Randy's sitting. It says call in number over there.
Oh, and 214-9472.
Yeah, I forgot
Do you
about
know
it.
your own show number?
No, I don't.
I don't even know my own cell phone number half the time.
Well, Philip says, great show. Thanks for joining us.
No,
And
thank you for having us.
Several people enjoyed it. And
Nice.
if you guys are interested in being on their show, this is exactly what it's like. Just talking back and forth and having fun and laughing. So
I usually talk a
truly
little
enjoy
more,
the shows.
but I'm a little under the weather, so you're going to have to forgive me on that one.
I'm compensating for him today. That's why I'm so vocal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not this vocal.
Yeah. And I'll be shaving next time.
No, but it was great. And then real quick, for those of you who follow us, we will be back January 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be joined by the host of Dark Horse Paranormal Productions. They are another podcast that is on Parallax Network, which is formerly the Paranormal United Network. And they also are the same hosts that host Bigfoot and the Bunny. So that should be a fun and interesting show as well. So, and I see your guys' reaction. Would you like me to get you in contact with them?
Well, actually, Bigfoot is Play B's like homie right there. That's all he wants to talk about. We finally had a Bigfoot podcast with a good friend of Kenny Torres. It was a really good show, really informative, and that's if we could find any more Bigfoot cryptid individuals that know a little bit more.
Bigfoot's my dude. I'm a believer in Bigfoot.
I'll get you in contact with them. They're a fun group to talk to as well. So they're a fun group to chat with. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for all your questions.
All right.
And Greg, I did see your post earlier saying that you did get the email to me, so I'll keep an eye out for it. Bye, Randy. And again, thank you guys for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you guys next time, because I know you guys will be on. You're always asking questions. I'm sorry, I'm babbling while I'm trying to find the right page for my outro.
No.
So you guys have a great night, and thank you for
You
joining
too.
us.
Thanks.